No, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. Yes, clap for the heavyweight champ, me. But I couldn't do it all alone.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the I'm Not Lucky, I'm Blessed podcast, the show where we celebrate young entrepreneurs and their achievement, and then we teach up and coming entrepreneurs how to make profit using their passion. And as usual, I'm your host, Lucky the Most. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, so today's episode number 39. Hopefully, yep, 39. I haven't looked at. Actually, I haven't been podcasting in a while. Why? That's basically what we're going to talk about on today's show. But before we start, hey guys, thank you so much for all those that have been on this podcast. I really love and appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for the listens. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the plays. Thank you for the ratings. Every single thing that you guys are doing for this podcast. I really appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the reason why this podcast is where it's at. It's not even because of me, it's you guys. And I really love you guys and I appreciate it, okay? So today, let's see, let me break down what we're going to do today. So we're going to have an introduction, okay, of today's podcast, and I have an announcement to make. And the announcement is pretty simple. The I'm Not Lucky, I'm Blessed podcast is going solo in the sense that I wouldn't be every single time hosting someone on the podcast. I might whenever there's a guest, boom. But if there's no guest, there's no guest. It is what it is. You get, right. So most of the times I would be just here talking to you guys from my heart and just sharing one or two things with you guys. That's number one announcement. Number two announcement is I don't even. Is there number two announcement? No, there's a number two announcement. Just that one announcement that we're going solo partially, and also whenever we can, we still having our guests. Wine Wednesday still remains the same. Fitness Friday, I might go solo, but Wine Wednesday, definitely I will have someone on it. Fitness Friday, I might go solo. Why am I going solo? Two things. One is a lot of people disappoint, okay? A lot of people say I'm gonna come on the podcast, I'm gonna be here, I would show up. Oh, thanks for the opportunity. I'm excited, I'm looking forward to it. And on the day they don't show up. You get me, right? They cancel the day before or on that very day for reasons that, best known to them. I can't fault them for their reasons, but at the end of the day, they don't know what this means to me. That when they cancel, I mean, I make it sound, oh, okay, I understand, but yeah, I understand. But at the end of the day, it just you like you're taking a piece on me. You get, right, like you gave me your word. I was expecting you to come on the podcast, and then you don't show up. So I've been having this, for a long period of time now, where people will, tell me they're gonna come on the podcast, and then they don't come. They say I will be there, and then something came up, and trust me, I don't reach out to people on the week of the podcast. I reach out to them like 2 weeks before the podcast, so they can block it out on their schedule. And I always love to do it on Saturdays in the evenings when I know, okay, you are home and you're not that busy. So what I expect from you is to, okay, block that time out of your day. It's just an hour to 30 minutes for you to just come and share your story with the world. It's not like I'm trying to use you or extort anything from you. It's me giving you a platform for you to, showcase your talent, whatever you have. It's still a marketing strategy. You get me, right? That you can also use to grow, videos, YouTube. My, listeners are hearing you and hopefully might, be interested in what you're serving or what you have. That's the kind of mindset that I have. But some people don't have that mindset. Some people just feel like, this ain't nothing. I don't want to show up. So they just don't show up. Okay. So that's one reason why the show is going solo. And then the second reason is that regardless of what goes on, life, regardless of what goes down, life must still go on. You get, so regardless of the fact that these people don't show up, I still have to do this podcast. And I haven't been like consistently dropping stuff, not because I don't have what to say, but it's just because I started this podcast with the mindset of having guests on it. So the fact that I don't have a guest just kind of like slows me down from dropping contents and all that. But I really don't want that to be the case. I am a no excuse type of guy. It is what it is. If there's no guest, we're just gonna speak to ourselves. And also, but something has to drop every week. You get me, right? Even if it's just 5 minutes of me just saying something, like something has to drop. That's the goal. Something has to drop every single week. That's my goal for this podcast. And the last thing I want to do is to let someone excuse or someone negligent stop me from uploading something. So I am I haven't been posting, not because it just I've been afraid of doing this, doing solo, and I just felt like I needed someone to talk to, have conversation with too. But at the end of the day, I guess this whole thing is just bringing out the different, which is something we're gonna talk about in futures in today's episode. So let me not really go into it, okay? So today's topic, the podcast now will be having a topic, and then I'll talk about a topic, okay? And today's topic is very, very important to me. It's called how to deal with disappointment, or basically dealing with disappointment. Yes, dealing with disappointment. I I didn't know what to talk about at first. I was like, what should I talk about? That I can really, really express myself and people can relate with. And I was thinking about it, and then I remember I shared the story with one of my clients. He's like, "How's the podcast going?" I was like, "Yo, I'm having so much delays, like disappointments that I really can't even do any single episode." So he was like, "Oh, so because of that, you're not gonna do an?" I was like, "Yeah," because that was what the podcast was for. That was my excuse. And he's like, "No, you just have to do a solo podcast where you just talk about things, and I know 100% people will listen to." So he told me that, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's what I'll do this weekend." So, what's a good topic I should talk about? So he's like, "Oh, you should talk about." So we stormed around for a little bit, and then he's like, just talk about disappointments. Basically how people don't show up." Oh, I was like, that makes sense. So it happened through him, and this topic was supposed to be for last week, but something happened last week that I wasn't able to do it. And then just the fact that I didn't do it last week, I encountered so much more that I want to add in this conversation, that I felt like it was a perfect timing for me not to do it last week. More scenarios of delay came in that I feel like would be perfect for me to use in today's episode. So let's go. So the first thing I want us to in this conversation talk about is, what is disappointment? What does disappointment mean to you? Everyone have their own definition of disappointment. Even Google or the dictionary have their own definition of disappointment. But in my own word, what is the definition of disappointment? And it's pretty simple. Disappointment is just a test to see how bad you want it. That's how I just got definition of disappointment. Yes, it means people not showing up. It means someone disappointing you. But in reality, it's just basically just a test to see how bad do you want it. Do you really want this bad enough that even when people disappoint you, you still go out and do what you're supposed to do? Do you really love this? Do you really love being in a relationship that when you get disappointment from one person, you can still go out there to talk to another person? Do you really want to lose fat that when the personal trainer that was supposed to be there, or when when your workout partner that was supposed to guide you through the workout doesn't show up, you still go in there and look for something to do because you're like, I wouldn't let my result rely on you. You understand? So basically, just a test to see how bad you want it. How bad do you want it? Like, you want to be successful. There's going to be disappointment. How bad do you want it? And if you can show how bad you want it, you'll be surprised that disappointment might even not be a disappointment. It might be a blessing in disguise that you think is a disappointment, but actually it wasn't. And I would tell you guys stories about situations like that, like happened last week. So for example, even me doing this conversation, me doing this solo podcast, at first was a disappointment, but now I'm realizing that it's making me face my weakness. So my weakness was, I've been running away from sitting here and just talking to you guys from my heart. It's not like I can, but I've just been checking about the whole thing. And as much as I love doing this podcast, I realized that these disappointments weren't just, it's like it was easy. It was easy for me to just get someone on the podcast and we talk all day, right? Yes. Now it's like, okay, now let's take it a little bit further to see how bad do you want it. What about when no one shows up? How do you handle that? Do you just completely, cancel your podcasting, or do you cancel on your goals? Do you cancel on your plan and just go about it however you want? Is that what you're gonna do? That's basically what disappointment is. It's there's nothing to it. Like, I could give you an example. I have last week, a friend of mine by the name Don Black was shooting a music video. So before his music video, he invited a bunch of friends and family, loved ones, fans, even paid vixens, or he was gonna pay ladies to come in the music video to do their thing. So he's been thinking about this for a month. He created like a group chat, invited friends, and prepared every single thing for the video. And then Sunday came, the day for the video came, and guess what? No one showed up. Yep, absolutely no one showed up. So the first was the girl that was supposed to the girls that were supposed to come in for the video. Like, okay, he called them. Hey, they weren't picking up. They just completely blanked him. Turned their phones off. They come in with excuses. Oh, I can't make it. I have to go to this. I have to go to that. But if you look at it, it's like I have already invited you. Like, I have already told you about this. Like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, you gave me your word, but now you are telling me you can't make it. It makes no sense. You get me, right? So he was disappointed. He was disappointed, and then he reached out to me like, hey man, the girls that were supposed to come in on the video are not showing up. They decided not to show up. So I was like, so what do we do? In that moment, I already was going through this phase of disappointment. Like, I was already working on this topic. I was reading about disappointment, and I was like, yo, it is what it is. If they don't show up, it's okay. We're just gonna I told him some of the points. Like, I said, disappointment is just a test to see how bad do you want it. Do you really want this bad enough? He's like, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, let's go shoot this video with the boys. If the girls don't show up, we're going to use the boys to shoot a video. And once you realize that when you push through with disappointment, you realize a different side of you. Like, you become more creative. You get into a world that you have never been before. You get me right now? You start to think outside the box. But when you're not disappointed, you're thinking inside the box. You're getting comfortable. Everything is comfortable. So when he told me that, I was like, okay. He picked me up, and then we drove all the way to Lawrence, and we're just talking about, what, fuck these girls, man. If they're not gonna show up, we're gonna shoot an all guys video. We're gonna make this work as because, like, for real, you can't put your life on hold because of someone. You can't. I was like, you can't put your career on hold because of someone that is not even serious with their own self. Because these vixens are professional, and if you claim to be professional, then you should have no excuse for not showing up. Like, if you're professional and you love what you do, like, you not showing up makes no sense. You get it, right? So basically, they're not professional. That's what I would call them, because if they are professional, they would show up and do what they say they were gonna do. So you wouldn't let an unprofessional someone stop you from doing your professional thing. Does that make sense? Like, so we kind of like we drove out there, we got there. The cameraman was supposed to come with, okay, the cameraman was like, okay, no problem, I know someone that is willing to come through. So he reached out to his girl too. The girl to say, no, I can make it, I am running this, I am doing that. Boom. Okay, so moment of silence there. Everyone was like, okay, what should we do? And the cameraman was like, you know what, let's shoot some scenes, and then when we have the girls, we'll shoot the next one. So no, we're like, no, we're not doing this. We're gonna shoot every single scene without the girls. Fuck the girls, fuck the vixens, fuck whoever that was supposed to be here. If they're not here, it means they're not supposed to be here. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. We're gonna shoot this video with or without them. The mind was made up. He was like, okay, let's go. Because he has never seen a music video that talks about a girl and then there's no girl. You get it, right? It makes no sense. Absolutely. In that moment, we were just like, hey, it is what it is. That's what we have, and we're not going to move this video to a different day. And what if they still don't show up on that day? Look, you're trying to pay someone to show up and they still don't show up. How much more what else do you need for them to show up? You get me, right? So we went upstairs. The location was great. And once we got to the locations, we saw mannequins there, and I was like, yo, we can use mannequins as females for the video. Like, we could dress them up and just play around with them. Yo, long story short, we use mannequins to shoot videos. Yo, you guys should look out for that video. It's called Go Down by Don Black Wi-Fi. It's dropping probably next week or so. It's an amazing video that taught me something that, look, disappointment is not really disappointment like you think. It's not bad like you think. What's bad is if you give up and you don't go anything. It's just a test to bring out that greatness in you. It's a test to bring out that strength in you, that you're relying on people. You get me, right? Because you get if you feel bad about disappointment, is that you are relying on this person, you are fully dependent on this person, and then they didn't show up, so you feel bad. But if you don't depend on someone, you're independent, meaning I can depend on myself, but I need you to do this, and they don't show up, you still do it. That's how you want to be. I was reading a book that talks about this two things: being independent, being dependent, and being inter-independent. So dependent is you dependent on someone for every single thing. You know, you're dependent on your partner, you depend on people for your happiness, for your growth, for everything, money, all that. You depend on people. Independent, on the other hand, is you don't depend on someone. You got this. You get, right? You're good. You know, you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for everything around you. You're responsible for. You don't need anybody to do that with you. But now the third one is inter-independent. If I'm saying this right, that is, you know that you are independent, but you just want someone to assist you, not because of you're lazy, but it's just that it is what it is. Like, for example, in a relationship, there are women that are independent, but they decide that, okay, you're the head of the family. The man is known to be the head of the family, so okay, I will depend on you, not because I can, but I would, put my, depend on you so we can both work together. You get, right? So you don't want to be independent, because being independent is kind of like a selfish thing, and also being dependent is a weak thing. So what do you want to be? You want to be inter-independent, meaning you want to depend on people to an extent. You want to depend on people to an extent. When someone says, I will show up, you want to depend on that. But when they don't show up, you have that dependency in you to still do it. Does that make sense? So we shot the video came out amazing. I was doing all kinds of things, and shout out to the girls not showing up. Like, usually, if I'm in Don Black's video, I'm probably, or if I'm in the musical video, I'm probably there for like 5 to 10 seconds, so, but they didn't show up. So I had a huge, and for me, music, I want to go into the scene of, like, I want to be in music video and stuff like that. So them not being there kind of like gave me a privilege to play a huge part in the music video. And what was even funny was the ladies that we expected to show up, that we paid, that didn't show up. So we were hoping that the guys were gonna still show up, and maybe a huge number of guys were gonna show up and stuff like that. But when we got there, even the guys that we were expecting to show up didn't show up. So eventually we shot a video that was supposed to have like maybe 20 people with just 5 people. You get, right? So we were like Manny Keys, Mayo, myself, Don Black. 4 people. Yes, 4, and some mannequins, and like maybe 4 mannequins. So a video that was supposed to have like 20 people was shot with just 4 people and like 3 mannequins. And honestly, it's the best video we have ever shot in a long period of time. Like, in Don Black's career, like, he's gonna shoot more videos, but that was like the best video he has shot, and it was really classic. So that's what comes out of disappointment. That's what comes out of disappointment. The best. It brings out the best in you. Disappointment literally brings out the best in you. It brings out the strength in you. Even in a relationship, you thinking you're gonna spend the rest of your life with this person, and then they disappoint you, and then move on and get someone else. You, at that moment, like, you just kind of like, hey, 2 things are involved there, and which is gonna be my next topic, was like, how do you handle disappointment? So okay, now someone have disappointed you. Okay, I will show up, and then they didn't show up. Rely on me, I got you. And then when it's time for you to rely on them, they don't show up. I love you forever. You depend on them, and then they finally love someone else. Okay, this thing has happened. Okay, because disappointment definitely will happen. It's life. Okay, how do you handle disappointment? Because that's the most important thing. Like, how do you handle it? And there are like 2 ways to handle disappointment. 2 ways. Okay, one is you can be the victim, or 2, you can be the victor. So 2 mindset there. You can have the victim mindset or the victor mindset, and I'm going to explain both mindsets for you and how they work. Okay, so let's go into the victim mindset. So the victim mindset is like, oh shit, life always happens to me like this. My life is fucked up. Everyone is just gonna disappoint me. I know I shouldn't have done this. I know I am not good enough. I know this. I know life doesn't like me. I know that my life is shitty. All those things. Like, for example, 2020 was supposed to be an amazing year. We all had plans for 2020, and then COVID happened, right? Some people had the victim mindset. Oh, because of COVID, I can't do this. Because of COVID, I'm stuck in here because of COVID. I'm broke because of COVID. I'm this. But also, there are people that have people with the victim mindset are the ones that complain about COVID. And then people with the victim mindset are like, oh, fuck, yeah, okay, COVID is here, but regardless, we're still going to do what we want to do, People with the victim mindset are the people that say, oh yeah, you disappointed me, but regardless, we're still gonna do what we want to do. You get right? So so back to the victim mindset. So when you have the victim mindset, you always feel like life is against you, like, you know, people are out to get you. Every little thing, every small thing, even when you call someone and they don't pick you, that, oh yeah, they don't like me, you know. You can have that mindset, or you can have the victim mindset that says it's okay, you know. This person didn't show up, but I am sufficient enough to, you know, make things happen. You know, I have it in me. Everything I need is inside me to make my dream a reality. I don't need this person. You know, that brings you back to that dependent thing I told you. You know, you were interdependent on this person. You were hoping on this person to show up, but they didn't show up. But now you're like, okay, I got this. I can do this. You get right. But the victim mindset becomes dependent. You know, they've been dependent on people their whole life, that, you know, even when nothing happens, they just, you know, can go anywhere. But once you have that victim mindset, you rise above things. You know, you don't see things for what they are, you see things for what you want them to be. In that moment, you start to speak the things. You start to say, it is what it is. I got this, man. I can do this. I am loved. I am enough. You know, like, I am enough. I have everything that I have in me. I'm gonna go out there and win, regardless of who shows up, who don't show up. I'm still gonna drop this episode. Like, you know what, people are gonna even love me when I do a solo podcast. People will love to listen to this. Like, you start speaking things into it, because you, like, you know, your words are powerful. You know, once you work with this victim mindset and you say, oh, no one's going to listen to me, who wants to hear my horrible voice? I've never told myself that. You know, I've never said, oh, who wants to hear my horrible voice? Oh boy, I sound so boring, I sound so this. That's a victim mindset. And eventually when I drop it, that's how I'm going to sound. That's how the world is going to perceive this. But I had a victim mindset that said, look, I don't care who shows up on the podcast. I am going to do a solo podcast now, and the people will love it more. It's going to even drop more content. It's going to even bring more quality to my podcast. Even if you don't see it happen, just say it. Say it, like, you know, say it. Speak what you want. Speak good things, you know. So I leave. So we like in that video shoot, we didn't say because the vixens were in there or the girls were in there, we're not going to shoot this video. No, we said, look, we're going to shoot a good video. We're going to shoot a classic video. Even the fact that they didn't show up is the reason why we're going to make the best video. Don Black was like, I will shoot a video that everyone will be like, wow, they shot a video without girls, and they use, you know, like, we are going to be the first in history to do it. And I mean, even in my podcast, like, I've never had a solo podcast, you know, like just me talking about something, but this gave me the, okay, this is going to be the first time I'll do it, you know. And you know, in that moment, you break records. In that moment, you know, you do what no one has ever done before. In that moment, you might not break a public record, but you break a personal record. Like for me, I'm breaking a personal record. I'm sitting here for over 25 minutes and I'm having this conversation with you guys. It's not like I couldn't. I could, but I just never wanted to do it until push come to shove, and now I'm like, okay, I have no choice but to go out there and do it. So that's where the victim and the victim mindset is. Okay, so how do you handle, you know, disappointment? One, you either have a victim mindset and say, okay, life is against me and, you know, I have nowhere to go, or you can have a victim mindset that says, look, life is not against me, man. Life is for me. Life will bend to my will. Regardless of who shows up, who don't show up, I'm still gonna be fine. Regardless of the girl that I asked for a number that turned me down, I am still okay. Regardless of, you know, she said she was gonna do this and she didn't do it, I'm still okay. Regardless of the fact that he told me he was gonna be with me forever, and now he's breaking up with me, I'm still good. You know, that's the victim mindset, and that's the mindset every one of us wants to have or should have, but unfortunately not everyone have that mindset. So this is a very important thing that I came across last week. So people disappoint you. Look, this is why people disappoint you. Okay, people disappoint you because two things. The number one reason, which is the most important reason, is people disappoint you because they see what you can't see. Disappointment is not a no. Okay, people see something in you that they don't want to come to life. That's why they disappoint you. The same people that will disappoint you when you invite them for something professional like your career, if you invite them for a house party, they wouldn't disappoint you. Why do you think that happens? It's because they know that You know, they know that house party is not adding anything to your life. It's even taking away from you. You get right. But once something relates to your career, people don't take it serious, because it's not because they don't take it serious. They know that this means a lot to you, but they just don't want to see you grow. That's outside of this. That's honestly, that's the truth. That's the truth. Okay. Like, let's see. I would want to give an example, but I really don't have anything at the back of my mind. But I was listening to this message and it really cleared my mind. You know, like the guy was like, see, disappointment. No. When people tell you no, don't take no for no, man. Take no for something deeper than that. People see favor upon you, that people see the hand of God upon you working, that they just want to do everything, you know, not to let that happen. And if you let it, that's when you lose, you know. But if you like, okay, good, no problem, I'll still find a way to make this happen. Things will happen that you wouldn't believe. Okay, so like, people that disappoint you, honestly, don't disappoint you because you are not good enough. They disappoint you because you are too good, and they just don't want you to be better than them. Honestly, that's the simple truth. Okay, my case is different. Okay, like yesterday I was supposed to be at a friend's music video, but I disappointed him, not because of anything, but honestly, like, I didn't show up for the music video because the weather was shitty and I didn't have enough time even in my own life to, you know, show up for it. But does that mean I don't want the best for him? I want the best for him, you know. I want the best for him, but sometimes, you know, I really couldn't make it, and that boils me down to the second reason why people disappoint you. People disappoint you because maybe they really don't have the time to really show up. You get right? But there's a but. So there's this guy that I actually invited to come on my podcast long time ago, and he told me he couldn't, like, oh, I was sick and I can't make it. Guess what? He was on his Instagram just going out partying. You get right? So it's like you're lying. Like you lie to me in real life, but you can't lie on social media. You get me right? Like, he told me he couldn't make it because he was sick, but like few minutes later I went. It's not like I was actually going to, you know, follow his footsteps, or I mean, like, watch what he was doing, but he couldn't even like hide his track. It was on Instagram, like him just having fun, chilling, and I was like, that shit got to me. Like, look, so many disappointments that I have had. You know, the reason why I speak so bad against it is because it's not like people tell me that I'm sick and then you see them in the hospital or trying to heal or trying to do things that will help them. No, you see them going outside. You see them going, you know, you see them hanging out with friends. You see them living like, woo. Like, there was this guy, good friend of mine too, great friend of mine. I invited him, like, let's you know, let's be on the podcast. He's like, okay. Told me yes. Like, I told him like a week and a half before the show. He was so into it. And then the next Friday, podcast was supposed to be on Saturday. Friday evening, he's like, hey buddy, I can't make it. I have to go to a family stuff. You know, I have to go do some things with my family and all that. Okay, I was like, come on, like, this is just an hour, you know. You already made this commitment to me, you know. Like, why don't you just, I didn't tell him that, I just said it to myself. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, understand, family first, it's okay, go. And then that Saturday I saw him on his Instagram story. He was just hanging out with friends, like, for real. This is not a family, this is not his friends, these are his classmates. Like, they just went out. I get it, it's beautiful outside to go outside, but you know, you've made a commitment to me that you were going to show up at this time. You get right? I take your word for it. And like, you might not care because you're having a good time, but every single thing about, like, my judgment towards you has changed. Like, I can't fuck with you the way I used to fuck with you before. Like, I used to, like, this was someone that I respect. You get right? And every single person that I have on this podcast, every single person that I have brought on this podcast is someone that I respect. Is someone that I think, like, I hold high. Like, and I think you can add value to my listeners and to me. But when you start being like that, like, you don't even keep to your words and that, like, I mean, I'm a victim of it myself too, but, like, you know, it is what it is. You lose value in the eyes of someone. Like, for example, I didn't show up in my friend's music video the other day. I've lost value in his eyes a little bit. He's just like, oh yeah, he says he's gonna show up in there, and he doesn't show up. But regardless, like, you know, but I never posted on my social media that I was going out. Like, I was still chilling. No one even saw what I was doing. I was just like laying on my bed trying to actually get rest. You get right? So sometimes it's like some people really have an excuse. some people don't just have an excuse. Okay, another instance, this guy, like, this is even the worst one. Like, I literally had to block this guy on my social media because he's a very great guy that like I was looking up to so much. And like, you know, he does a lot of cool stuff on on IG. Speaks about being a man of your word. He speaks about all this BS. I was like, yo, let me have you on my podcast and let's talk about, you know, what you do. And, you know, he's like, yeah, sure. That was last year. Okay. I met him last year. And he's like, sure. Yeah. Last year. Oh, and then when the day came, he couldn't show up. He's like, okay, let's book something in 2021. Look, I met this guy in 2020. We were supposed to meet in 2020. And then he booked me for 2021 to, you know, for another episode. I was like, sure. So 2021 came. I never reached out to him. I gave him a time to, you know, chill and everything. And then randomly we came back and I was like, hey man, you still interested in getting on the podcast? He's like, hell yeah, let's do it. So he told me he was gonna make it on Friday, but I'm like, I don't host my podcast on Friday. Can you do Saturday? He's like, okay, Saturday is not good for him, but Sunday is good. Okay, look, I booked Sunday with this guy. Sunday came, this guy did not show up. Okay, this guy did not show up, and the most like kind of like annoying part was, this guy was a guy that talks a lot on Instagram about being a man of your word and, you know, being disciplined and all that. And I'm like, you, like, people don't know this, but it's the little things that count. You get me, right? Like, people think that this opportunity is too small, so they don't value it. But like, if you don't value this little opportunity, how you gonna value a big opportunity? Like, for real, like, this is just a little podcast, and you can't even sit with me and, you know, give me your word. And see, how you do small things is how you do everything. You get it, right? If you can't, like, if you really can't value this little opportunity that has been given to you, how can you value a big opportunity? If you're a professional, look, I've had people on my podcast, like the last guy I had on my podcast, I met him, like, this guy and I would never speak on the phone. We never talk, okay? And then I got to know that he owns a gym, and I reached out to him like 2 weeks before the podcast, and I was like, hey, buddy, I would love to have you on my podcast. He was so excited. Yes, let's go. You know, we were going back and forth all through the week, and when the time came, he came in a little bit late, but that wasn't because, for me, I wasn't even mad that he came in late. I was so grateful that he showed up. You get me, right? Because I've dealt with people that say, oh, I will be here, I will be there, and then eventually they don't show up. But he showed up. This guy doesn't even know me. He doesn't, like, but he kept to his word and showed up, because that's how you know people that really, really love what they do, and people that value you for, you know, what you bring to the table. But some people don't value you. That's why they disappoint you. So, you know, like, for real, it's okay to block those people. For real, like, I literally blocked people, and I never have this conversation with them. Like, I never talk about the podcast with them. I never tell them that, look, I want to have you on the podcast again. No, I'm not. I gave you this one chance, and you didn't take it. Like, you know, fuck it. I'm just going to. If you didn't take it the first time, why are you gonna take it the second time? You get it, right? And I know people that I've given them chances to be on the podcast because I was so desperate to have them on the podcast, but at the end of the day, I realized that, look, I don't even need you guys to be on this podcast. You get it, right? The vision I see for this podcast is not the vision you see. And that's why sometimes people don't really, you know, fuck with you that much, because what you see is not what they see. They just see you on the mic just talking, but you see something bigger than that. You see them going bigger places. You see yourself taking them to a height that, you know, they never have been. So, you know, that was it. Okay, so quickly, just want to round this up. What are some benefits of disappointment? Now, we've already talked about this. Definitely, disappointment has benefits. Okay, as much as there are some disadvantages that are attached to it, there are advantages, you know, of disappointment. And number one is that it shows how passionate you are about what you're doing or what you said. You get it, right? Like I said, it's only a test. Disappointment is only a test to see how bad you want it. And one of the benefits is that if you really, really go outside and you know, regardless of the disappointment, it just shows life how committed you are. It basically just shows life like, look, I really want this so much that I would I would do whatever it takes to, you know, to get it. And when life sees you that you're that kind of person, things happen for you. You think life is stupid. You think life is just gonna give itself to you. You think success will just come to people that can't even keep their words. No, man, come on, like for real. Like, look at yourself. Like, you know, you think because you're alive, you deserve to be wealthy. You think because you're alive. You know how many people that should be wealthy that are not wealthy because they don't even, like, life has not even seen a reason to give them the opportunity. Life has not even seen a reason. Like, this person is not even committed even to their peers. Like, they cancel at last moment, they don't even show up, they don't value all these things. And that's what's killing our like our world, our generation, is that we don't take things serious. We just want to, live in the now, live in the moment. Oh, this guy's show is not great, I don't want to go with him, I want to go. But you don't know, man, 5 years from now, like, it's not even like 5 years, like 5 years from now, this show is gonna be big. I'm telling you, 5 years from now, this is the show that you wish you were on. 5 years from now. That's why when people tell me no, people tell me down, I don't get mad, because I'm like, don't worry, man. I got you. Like, I'll put this on the platform that you wish that you were on it, and when the time comes, you'll be like, hey, can I be on your show? But like, I don't want to sound rude, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Okay, so benefit number 2 is, it builds strength in you. It builds muscles in you that you never wanted to use. You get it, right? You never wanted to use because you're afraid of using those muscles, but now it's like you have no choice. You get it, right? There are times when I wanted to go to like, I've been in the gym and I wanted to squat heavy, and I was hoping that there will be maybe someone to spot me, or there will be a waist belt so I can put it on my waist and make this thing easier. And then you get to the gym and you realize that there is no belt, there's no one to spot you, and now you have to just face that. You have to face it. You have to face that weight, and in that moment you sink or you swim. Is that you die or you rise. So when you go down with that weight and it's heavy, but there's no one to spot you, at that moment you're like, we have to get back up, and the body looks for you. The body looks for it. Where there's a will, there's a way. The body looks for every single avenue to bring you back up. And you're like, oh boy, I thought I needed someone. Basically, so that's what disappointment is. It's not really as negative as people said. It's only a test, and if you can pass that test, man, like, for real, you will be strong. You will, life, things will happen for you. That you never thought. Like, I've been on this for 40 minutes and I never thought I could do this. I don't even know how I sound, but I know there was something, I've dropped something here, someone's gonna like it. So, that's benefit number 2. It builds strong muscles. And benefit number 3 is just, it makes you untouchable. Like, after a couple of disappointments that I've had, like, I literally walk around looking for disappointment now. Like, I see people with disappointments attached to them. Before now, I used to see people without disappointment, but now I look at you and I see disappointment in you. Like, I look at you and I say, this guy can disappoint me. So it's not new to me anymore. You get it, right? And it's not bad. It's honestly, it's not bad. Like, I see people, like, and I don't even, like, before now, I used to hold people with so much, value that, hey, this person will never disappoint me and stuff like that. But due to, like, the disappointment that I've faced this week, I see people with, like, I see you and I see disappointment attached to you. Like, I know now that you can disappoint me, and I'm not offended by that if you disappoint me, because I already know that you can disappoint me, or you can tell me no, or, things happen, it's life. So that's like the third benefit of disappointment. You become untouchable. People disappoint you and you just bounce it off. Like, it's one of those things. I was listening to a message by Bishop TD Jakes, and he said, like, he's at a point where if you don't disappoint him, he's like, something's wrong somewhere. Yeah, right? Because he's used to the disappointment, because he's saying that, from disappointment, you grow. So it's like, if you don't disappoint me, then I'm doing something wrong. If you don't disappoint me, it's like, for me to, like, that's the kind of mindset that, like, when I heard it, I was like, oh boy, that's the kind of mindset that I want to have. When people don't tell you no, you just feel like, something is wrong somewhere. When people don't disappoint you, when it's too easy, you're just like, I don't trust this. I mean, sometimes it comes easy, sometimes it doesn't, but some people are there that, you have to go through disappointments before you get to where you're going to. You have to go through bad times to, get to good times, so you just have to know yourself and, whatever that works for you. Okay. So, I don't really have much to say to that. That's gonna, wrap up this conversation. My initial goal was 30 minutes, but, I think it's like 30 something now. So, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. If you guys have a topic you want me to talk about, anything that you guys want me to talk about, hopefully next week I might have a guest. But if I don't have a guest, regardless, we're still gonna do this podcast, me and you, one-on-one. You listen to me, I listen to you. Okay. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends. And with that said, thank you so much for listening. Be blessed. Boom.